In the last video, we set up this simple animation that would take the dialog and move it from the top left of the screen to the bottom right of the screen. In this video, I just want to do a small refactoring of that to make the code better. So the first thing to notice is that we have the position of the dialog stored in these local variables within this run method. Really, the position of the dialog it's something that should be an instance member of this class, because the position of the dialog is a property of the fly. So what I'm going to do is make a new instance member. It's going to be an array events. I'll call it location, and it's just going to be 2 ints, one for the X position and one for the Y position. So now instead of X and Y, we're going to have location 0 and location 1. And the nice thing that this allows us to do is, rather than having the update logic within the run method, we can create a separate method, call it move, that actually has the update logic embedded within it. And what this allows us to do is make that move logic a little more complicated and not clutter the run method. This is no longer X, it's location 0, and no longer Y, but location 1. So this will behave identically to the previous program. It's just it's a little cleaner the way it's written. And let me show you what I mean by that. So let's say I want to make this move method a little more complex. Let's say instead of just running on forever, let's see, let me just make this run a little faster. You can see our dialog just runs off the screen and it's gone. We never get to see it again. So what's the point? So let's make this a little nicer. Let's make the dialog bounce back and forth. So I'll add another variable here. Let's call it direction. And this is whether the dialog is moving from top left to bottom right or from bottom right to top left. The way we can do that is multiply the velocity by the direction. So if the direction is 1, it has no effect. That means we're moving from top left to bottom right. But if the direction is -1, we'll move in the other direction. We're decreasing the X coordinate each time and decreasing the Y coordinate each time. Of course, at some point we have to flip the direction. So when do we do that? Let's just say either when the X coordinate becomes greater than 1,000, or if we're moving in the other direction when it becomes less than 0. And to flip it, we can just multiply it by -1, because 1 times -1 is -1, and -1 times -1 is 1. So what this piece of logic is doing is it says, after I've moved far enough, so after my X coordinate has exceeded 1,000, turn around and go in the other way. And then once I've gone too far in the other way, once it becomes smaller than 0, turn back around. So we should just bounce back and forth forever. Let's see. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. So the advantage here is we made the location instance member, which makes sense because it is an instance member of this class, but that also allows us to modify it in a method external to the run method. And that means that we can have this more complicated logic without cluttering up this loop.